Hey, good evening, and thank you for joining me on tonight's live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about getting your head right about sales. This is a really important topic, and quite honestly, not many of us think about this before we engage with our customers, let alone start our day before we even head into work. I really wanted to talk to you about this evening and let you know that, hey, getting your head right and making sure that your mindset is right before you engage with customers is so important. If you don't know who I am, my name is Greg Nelson. I'm a sales coach, sales trainer. I'm a Grant Cardone licensee, and I'm certified to deliver you grants, 10x sales professional training curriculum through his 10x coaching, his 10x sales training material. And in addition, I'm an automotive sales professional, or have been an automotive sales professional for 20 years. It was, gosh, roughly about 10 years ago. I remember this one day in particular. I was walking into a sales meeting while looking at my paycheck, and I sat down. My face turned bright red. I slumped into my chair trying to hide. I was horrified, thinking of my little kids, how I was going to keep the lights on, and how I was going to keep my job. And then I heard it. I was being called out by the sales manager to tell the entire sales department, the entire organization, how many sales I had for the month, or more like didn't have. I was embarrassed. I was demotivated, and my performance for the rest of the weekend was shot. Uh, Worst of all, when I got home that evening, I walked through the front door, and my wife greeted me and told me that our water had been turned off. If you're going through sales and you're in a rut, and this story sounds familiar, that you're worried about getting your bills paid, you're worried about making ends meet, you're worried how you're going to succeed in your career of sales, and maybe you're thinking about getting out because it's just not working out for you. I got to tell you, there's an actual blueprint, there's an actual formula and a step by step process on how to sell and how to be effective with sales and how to increase your sales. It was shortly after that day that I remember I was taking a coffee break with a coworker who had not been selling for as many years as I had, but he seemed to had be finding some success that I was not finding. And so I asked him, "Hey, what are you doing recently to where your sales are just shooting through the roof?" And it seems like mine and a handful others of our sales are all just kind of staying stagnant, staying the same. And he turned me on to this author of a book, and I picked up an audio book. I listened to that audio book over and over and over again, and then I got another one and another and another. And before I know it, I was going to online webinars, and I was and had enrolled in his uh, online training platform. And before I know it, my sales were off the chart, and I finished the end of that year fourth in my store out of about 45 or 50 associates. And I remember my boss tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, great job. You're one of our top producers this year." It was shortly after that, 6 months later, I got promoted into sales management, where I was training and coaching the other sales associates on what made me successful, and teaching them on how to sell more, sell consistently, and earn more on each sale. In addition to that, I was also saddled with the task of taking every written proposal from the day before, the day previous, putting it into a system, a follow up system, creating a follow up system, putting all those customers in that system, and calling them back and following up with them continuously until they agreed to make a purchase with us. But it wasn't just that until they agreed to make a purchase with us. It was a win win for three different aspects. It was a win for the company, it was a win for the salesperson, but most importantly, it was a win for the customer. Um, who is this guy I'm talking about? Well, his name's Grant Cardone. And if you don't know who Grant Cardone is, you've been living under a rock. Grant Cardone is an internationally renowned speaker on leadership, real estate investing, entrepreneurship, social media, and finance. He's number one on Forbes' list of the top 25 marketing influencers to watch, and author of several best selling books. Uh, on sales, entrepreneurship, real estate investing, and marketing. He's got 16 privately held companies right now, and his revenues exceed in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So today, again, we're going to talk to you about uh, getting your head right in sales. Uh, you also want to briefly touch on on February 11th. It's a Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Through all the material that I've learned through Grant, I think one area where a lot of us in sales are lacking, we may be really good face to face, engaging customers, taking them through our sales process, making sure we get a proposal in front of them so they can make the decision. But what's coming up in 2023, some say it may be worse than 2008. And when your natural traffic dies off, when that river becomes a dry riverbed and people aren't just walking through the store through your doors anymore and coming into your store, your showroom, or your office, it's super, super important to get extremely good on the phone. And so on February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, I'm holding a half day virtual live workshop called my Phone Mastery Bootcamp. And so with that, it's 1995. It's less than $20, but you'll get Grant's material, and it's Grant's material is proven successful. It's world class. It's ethical. It's transparent, and it's effective. And how do I know? I know firsthand how effective it is because it's the material that got me to where I am today. Since that time on that one day, when 10 years ago, looking at that paycheck, and after becoming a top producer in my store, then getting promoted into sales management. Well, just recently, I've become a licensee for Grant Cardone, not just a licensee, but also a certified Grant Cardone licensee. And I got to tell you, the material in this phone mastery workshop that you're going to learn is off the chart. You can take this material and you can implement it right away into your business. You can go back tomorrow, you can hit your desk, you can pick up the phone, you can start making phone calls. You'll learn how to set more appointments than you've ever set before. You'll learn how to have the customer lock in their own appointment to ensure that they show, to where you can still service the people, help people solve their problems. In a different way than just having them walk through your store. So that's February 11th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Go to thehardknockstate.com. That's thehardknockstate.com. Scroll down past my appointment section on the first page, scroll down, and then you'll see my webinar section. There's only one webinar, one event going on right now. And again, that's February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I really wanted to talk to you about the mindset and uh, getting your head right. As I said about sales, you want to wake up first thing in the morning, and when your eyes first open, the last thing we want to do, in fact, the thing you want to stay away from, is pretty much all media. Right? We don't want to look at news headlines. We don't want to listen to the shock jock on the radio station. We don't want to listen to bad music. We want to get preparing our mind prepared for success for the day. And so that starts from the minute you wake up. But realistically, you can, once you get this down and you develop the routine of every day getting your mind right about sales and about gauging with your customers and thinking and focusing on how you're going to service your customers, pretty soon it will become second nature, and then you won't have to think about it anymore. But the mindset and the attitude really is the first step in the perfect sales process. Selling is a prerequisite for life. There are an estimated 18 million people in the United States who self-identify themselves as salespeople. There are car salespeople, real estate salespeople, software salespeople, business to business sales, door to door salespeople. There are inside salespeople, there are outside salespeople, territory salespeople, strategic account salespeople, regional salespeople. Have you heard enough yet? Sales engineers, and the list goes on and on. That's a lot of salespeople. In fact, nearly 13% of all jobs in the United States, that's one in eight, are full time sales positions. But the real total of salespeople, I would have to argue, far surpasses that number. Why? Because in today's business environment, everyone needs to be a salesperson. And we are all salespeople, whether you're in the position that's called a sales or not. It doesn't matter whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're a carpenter, whether you're a plumber. It doesn't matter whether you're a doctor. You have to sell your ideas and you have to get your point across and communicate with other people. Even when you're driving in traffic and you're negotiating to change lanes or get off the freeway or get on the freeway, or merging, whatever it is, that's all a negotiation, and you're selling your way, to other people just by your actions alone. But selling impacts everyone on the planet. Your ability or inability to sell, persuade, negotiate, or convince others will affect every area of your life and will determine whether you survive or thrive. Here's why. No matter what your title, your position, or what your role is in your company, your team, at some point, you're going to have to convince others of something. Uh, if you're a manager, a CEO, or a salesperson, and the better you understand, the better you are at sales. The more knowledge you have, the better you're going to be. And the more repeat business you'll receive, the more referrals you'll get, and the more money you're going to make. So the whole idea here is to sell more, sell consistently, and earn more on each sale. Lawyers, especially trial lawyers, are big time salespeople. They have to sell judge and jury. Think about being a parent. If you're a parent, talk about having a master sales position. Every day is a negotiation with your kids. When they're small, you have to negotiate with them about bedtime, about screen time, and why there is too young to have why they're too young to have an iPhone, or why they're too young to have an Xbox. And when they get older, you're basically negotiating with similar things. You may have to sell them on the idea of getting a college degree or a certain career, or maybe going into the service. It's a much better choice than joining a band and driving around the country in a Volkswagen bus. Although a lot of us, we always had that thought that might be a cool idea, but is it realistic, and is it going to provide for us and our family? And is it really, you know, the answer to that. Concepts such as discipline, work ethic, education, good manners, and homework all have to be sold. Think of the most successful people like people like Mark Cuban, Martha Stewart, Steve Jobs when he was with us, when he was CEO of Apple, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey. These are all masters who are good at the skill of selling, that they don't even have to look like they're selling. Take a good take anything that they've done. Think about the ideas, the products, the services, the TV shows that they are selling multiple other people, not just the audience and the end users of those product, but think of everybody they have to interact with and sell their idea on in order to get that out to the general public and to their audience. Big time salespeople. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're female, whether you work on a salary, whether you work on a commission, you're always selling something to someone in order to advance. There is no exception to this rule, and there's no way to escape it. The receptionist who wants a raise, the actress who wants a part in a job, the guy who wants a girl, all rely on selling themselves, whether they know it or not. A professional sales person who depends on sales for his or her livelihood needs to know how to sell, and needs to know how to negotiate, and needs to know how to close. But these other people all need to know how to sell as well. When you're driving to work and you want to get off the freeway, as we have already mentioned, you got to negotiate and sell your idea to others, because the intent is to get off the freeway or get on the freeway. Think about walking into a bank. It's funny. I was one of my good friends, one of my close friends. He's a big time investment banker in the Southwest, and really just just rising through the ranks with the bank that he works at. Well, think about this: when you go in to get a loan, I was talking to him about this. I'm like, hey, what is it about? He goes, everyone in the bank is a salesperson. They just have titles that don't relate to sales. And he says, hey, think about this: when you're coming into a bank and you want to open a checking account, you want to open a savings account, you want to open a loan, you need to sell that customer, needs to sell the loan officer why they're worthy enough to get that loan. And the loan officer is going to try to sell the customer on the different types of loans that they offer that they think would be best to solve the needs of their clients. Okay. Um, when the actress goes for an audition and hopes to land the part, he or she better be able to convince the director that not only can they act, but they're the right person for the part. Even beyond your role as a professional salesperson, the better you master the skill of sales, the more you'll get what you want in all areas of life. A person's ability to persuade another is the only thing that will ultimately ensure a position in the marketplace. Academic records, grades, resumes won't guarantee you a promotion or an advancement in life, but the ability to sell will. Smart sales managers and business owners don't always hire the most intelligent or the most qualified person to fill the position. Instead, they look for the person who convinces them that he or she can do the job. The best companies hire the persuasive, positive, and confident applicants hand down over the one who offers little more than a fancy resume. In fact, everybody in today's world, you can only tell so much from a resume. And people out there looking for jobs, they're hiring professional resume writers. Realistically, getting in front of that person and letting them sell you on them and why they should have that job. If you're a business owner or a manager, that's what we should be looking for. We want those applicants to close us on the job. Uh, Sales success is business success. You may have figured it out already, but salespeople are a company's lifeblood. Without a successful sales team, no company will last. Sears is a great example of a strong brand that absolutely tanked because the company did not pay attention to sales, did not pay attention to servicing the customer. Love Sears. You'd go there back in the day, and they'd have hardware, big tool section, and the people who worked there were absolute masters, uh, knowing the complete line of all the products they sell. They could talk for an hour why the Craftsman lawnmower or the Craftsman tool was better than all the other tools and lawnmowers on the market. People would come in just to see what was new. In fact, back in the day, they used to sell a catalog that was about the size of a phone book, if you're old enough to know what a phone book is. But it's true, and they had everything. And that thing, every single year or every season, was always being redone and reshipped out to people. But then the chairman of the board lost sight of the customer, lost sight of knowing their product, lost sight of knowing how to engage with people, how to service people, and really lost sight of what was important to their consumer. They tried to turn Sears into an Amazon with doors, like an Amazon with doors, right? A warehouse with doors. And I do you remember walking into a Sears, 5, 6, 7 years ago, the last remaining ones, and it was just racks upon racks and upon racks of clothing, clearance items, and trinkets, and it just didn't work out. Not for conversation and connection, right? And that was the end of Sears. Way to go, Sears, and pay more when you could buy the same thing at Amazon. I mean, even though their stuff was clearance sale, clearance items, and you could still go other places and get it cheaper. But Sears lost sight of providing a good service to their customers. They just really did. Sears got rid of that comfortable feel, right? You get into their store, you're all comfortable, you're feeling warm and fuzzy. They cut their staffing, and suddenly their customers were gone. They lost sight of the whole role of being a salesperson. Borders Books is another one. Remember them? They did the same thing. Borders used to be an amazing bookstore. People who loved books would go and hang out because they love to be around books. They love to be around people who loved books. A lot of these bookstores, major bookstores like Borders, they would even have cafes in their stores and small restaurants where you could sit down, you could read the books. When you got tired, you'd go get a cup of coffee or go get a bite to eat and go back to checking out more books and sitting in oversized, comfortable chairs. Uh, but they blew it, right? They hired salespeople who loved books too during that time. So if you needed a good book for your 10-year-old nephew and you wanted to get a good reach a read for something like James Patterson, you could ask them and they'd recommend three or four good books. And you may just all pick three or four up for your nephew, right? If you just wanted a specific book, you'd go to, but now, if you want a book, you go to Amazon or you go someplace else online, right? If you wanted to talk about books with other people who love books, then you went to Borders. But maybe you'd pay a little bit more at Borders, but the whole experience was worth it. But then they started cutting corners too. They cut staff. They hired salespeople who didn't know the first thing about the authors or the books, and suddenly, look, surprise, they were gone. Right? This happens in all sorts of business. I see a lot of this in the tech space. The engineers and the developers think their product is so great that it can sell itself, but that's a myth. There are thousands of companies out there. With great products that no one's ever heard of. The salesperson is the front line of any business. The the in between the customer and the client and the rest of the company. Great salespeople can drive business success, but it's a rare business that can survive without a talented sales team. That's why that's why successful salespeople can often write their own ticket in terms of compensation and career. Because in sales, in most cases, your earning potential is unlimited. Look, even the US Army, look, they train their recruiters, right? Because they know their recruiters are what? They're salespeople. And they know that they got to bring the fresh blood in. They know they got to bring the fresh recruits in and create soldiers out of them. So they actually, the US Army, believe it or not, they put their recruiters through Cardone University to train them on how to effectively sell people. There are so many people out there who do not understand and who do not believe that sales is the root to their success and their survival. There all these business owners out there, small businesses, and nobody likes the stigmatism of, hey, I'm a salesman. People associate this slime ball kind of persona around the word sales and being a sales professional. And really that kind of thinking and that kind of philosophy is dumbfounding to me. And the United States is, gosh, it's really one of the only nations out there that think this way. When I was in selling automobiles for 20 years, I would run into people who were new into this country, and they would continuously, time and time and time again, ask me, how did I get the position? How did I get into sales? They where I worked was a very huge tech area, right? It was like the Silicon Valley of the Pacific Northwest. But these people all the time would continuously ask me about sales and what I liked about the sales position, and they were just enthralled with it. They found it very interesting, and I asked them, I go, hey, is this profession what I do? Is this a sought after profession in your country? And oh yes, it's you have to be a very good salesperson in order to sell automobiles. But here in the United States, we just look the opposite way on it. So to me, the whole thing is dumbfounding. But there are there's so many people out there that don't believe that sales is the reason for their success and their survival. No matter what field you're in, no matter what your title is, You have to know how to sell. Believing that the skill of sales matters, that's the first step, right? That's what we're talking about today. Getting your mind right about matters is the first step to becoming a great salesperson. You need to believe that sales matters, and you need to believe that your product or service matters, and you need to believe that you matter. Okay. And if you don't believe those things, you're going to have to in the selling industry and you're a sales professional. Look, on February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, join me and join my phone mastery workshop. Not only are we going to talk about selling over the phone, the philosophies of the phone, the facts of the phone, closing over the phone, setting appointments over the phone, and ultimately locking in appointments to where you're not getting no showed anymore, or you're really reducing the no show ratio. I used to say, when I was selling cars, I used to say, what are the two absolutes of the car business? Was number one, it was no shows, and number two was chargebacks. I'll tell you about chargebacks in a different live stream, but salespeople, automotive salespeople, you set these appointments all the time, and you just know a lot of them just aren't going to show. Well, during Phone Mask live virtual workshop on February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to teach you how to change that around. We're going to teach you to where the customer, they confirm and they commit to their own appointment and their own time coming in to see you. Career salespeople are vital to the dynamic of any economy. And if you're in automotive sales, and I know I talk about automotive sales a lot because that's who I was for the past 20 years, you may not realize how important your role is or how important your job is. But that our U.S. economy, our SARS, they look at four different areas to see how the economy is doing, right? And one of the main areas, 25% that they look at is new vehicle sales. And so if you're in automotive sales and you're like, man, I hate selling cars. You're questioning your career, you're questioning the manufacturer that you're working for, keep in mind, man, you are responsible for 25% of the nation's economy. um, Look, the world would stop turning without salespeople. If a product isn't sold and moved on to the public, factories would stop, production would stop, and there would be no need for distribution, no need for storage, no demand for shipping, uh, advertising. The burden of the entire economy of our culture today rests on the ability of salespeople, especially salespeople that know how to communicate effectively with consumers. The economic engine of society relies completely on the ability to get products into the hands of consumers. If the consumer doesn't buy it, the factories won't make it. The factory lines will stop. And hey, look, think about airplane companies. Think about Boeing when they went through when the 737 was grounded. Okay, that whole line, and in Washington State where I live, I'm really close, and I grew up really close to the Boeing factory, and where they would assemble, where they actually turned that whole facility into the 737 production line. That whole thing came to a screeching halt, and nothing was producing. Uh, all professions rely on sales. You got to understand that all professions rely on sales. I know without a doubt that for a salesperson to have a great life, he or she will have to know and apply the skills of any great salesperson. You can hire a doctor, a lawyer, an architect. You can get by without knowing how to set a broken ankle, prepare a contract, design a house, but you cannot get along in life without the ability to communicate, persuade, negotiate, and close a deal. These skills give you the ability to write the ticket for your future. Rather than being an hourly worker bee, you can become a highly paid individual with no ceiling on your earning potential. But you have to know how to sell. And many different other than my phone mastery workshop, I have many, many different programs and packages. You could do private one-on-one coaching. You could do group coaching. You can go in and do a combination of group coaching and Cardone University, called my Complete Sales Mastery program. But you know, spend time with a leader in any profession. Engineers, bankers, actors, film directors, you name it. Every one of those people had to build a career around selling to get to the top of their industry. Of those top producers, virtually every single one studied books, studied selling strategies, studied negotiations, studied persuasion, studied closing. Why? Because they understood that those skills are vital to their success. As we discussed earlier, every person, no matter what profession they're in, relies on selling. Politicians want to appeal to you and your interest so that you'll vote for them in the polling booth. Public speakers are hoping to convince you that their approach is the right one. Employees desiring a promotion or wanting a raise will have to sell their boss on the value to that company, why they should give them the raise. The coach has to sell his or her team on the idea of winning the game. Look, when you're think about professional sports, right? Would any owner of a professional sports team hired a coach and just said, "Hey, go do your best, and let's, if we just have average results, we're going to be happy"? Absolutely not. Yeah, that coach would be on the unemployment line with the rest of the tens and tens and tens of thousands of people who have gotten laid off this month, in the month of January. It's a it's a reality, right? They don't hire average people, they hire the best. They look for the best talent out there. Okay, and those coaches of those professional teams, they're selling their team, they're selling the owners that they're the person who's going to bring home the championship, right? They're the person who's going to bring home the trophy at the end of the season. Real estate agents must convince you to buy a house or to give you the listing. The mortgage lender wants you to refinance for the third or fourth time. The banker wants you to invest money in the bank's mutual funds, right? Or their investments. The waiter is selling the special of the day. They're selling the dessert. They're selling, there's, they're trying to sell you right as soon as you walk in the door, but we don't realize this. We just think we're going to go sit down, we're going to have a nice meal, and we're going to get helped by a great a waiter or waitress. But waiters and waitresses, guess what? They're salespeople. Yep. And selling never ends, and it includes everyone. Those who can sell, persuade, and close are the ones who survive the best, regardless of the line of work. No person will ever gain the power and the stature in the world without the ability to persuade others. The ability to communicate and convince others is an asset for you. The inability to communicate is a liability. No matter your ambitions, no matter what they are, you are required to communicate with others. And the better you can communicate, the more people will agree with you. The more you can get others to agree with you, the more you can have your way in life. The more you can get your way in life, the more you're going to enjoy your life. But we got to beware of false data. You might be wondering I'm spending so much time on this topic, why I'm spending so much time on getting your mind right about sales, or getting your head right about sales. Uh, the importance of sales in the economy is so, I mean, especially on what we may be facing in 2023, it's more important than ever before for you to be in a position to where you can capitalize on every single opportunity. It's because so many people have fallen into the world of sales by accident rather than by choice. And as a result, they don't fully believe in the possibility of sales or in the importance of their profession. Many times They get into sales because their buddy got into sales, or they took advice from somebody that says, "Hey, go get a sales job." You're unhappy at your job. We see it on your face. Maybe go try your hand at sales. You never know. That might be the way for you. But is it truly their choice, or were they persuaded by another to try it out? So this is where I want to warn you about the power of false data. The subject is selling, like any other subject, is full of false information, and it has been perpetrated over the years. These false datas may be the responsibility for the poor impression we have in the United States about this profession and much needed skill. False data is information that is not factual but is accepted as truth and passed along to others. People tend to form opinions, give advice, and pass on myths when they actually don't have any personal experience themselves. Much of the data that pass along hasn't been fully inspected, or hasn't been fully checked out, or for truth, even though it's being passed along as the truth. Right? It's like the politician, right? Whenever they do they're debating against each other for who should get the seat, who should get the White House, right? Who should become president, senator, and all this stuff. They always fact check these people to make sure that what they're saying is actually true. But you know what? The reality is, once it comes out of their mouth and the general public hear it, they've already formed an opinion. And 24 hours later, when the fact checkers come out, it's too late, right? It's already being passed along as this sales also, and it has given the whole profession and the skill itself a bad name. People continue to pass on false information that selling is hard, that it's difficult to depend on commissions, that selling is sleazy, that you have to work long hours, that it's not dependable, it's not consistent, and that you can't rely on the income, and that it's not considered a real job. Okay, it's a shame, because selling, as I've said, is one of the professions where you can write your own ticket in life and determine your own future. Look, I for before I got in 20 years ago, I I owned a market, right? I owned a grocery store, a produce market, a nursery, and that was a 7 day a week operation. Okay. I did not think I was a salesperson at that time, but I had to sell every customer who walked in that door. I had to sell them on my flowers. I had to sell them on my milk. I had to sell them on my dry goods, my flour, my, beans, my rice. I had to sell them on my soup. I had to sell them on my vegetables, my fruit, right? Or else it didn't sell. It just sat, and then I had to throw it out because it went bad, or the sell by date was expired, right? But it wasn't until I actually got into sales and really started grasping the concept of persuasion, and started listening to Grant Smart material and taking the deep dive into what he was teaching us. It wasn't until then I really realized that no matter who you are, no matter what you do, we're all salespeople. Let's say you're a dental hygienist and you're one of those dedicated heroes who spends all day in other people's mouths. Oh gosh, I couldn't do it. Scraping away at the plaque and trying to convince other people to floss and brush their teeth, and spit now, please. I couldn't do it. And that's the reason why I couldn't be a doctor either. I couldn't do the blood, right? Uh, but you don't really believe that brushing your teeth, the patient doesn't really believe that brushing their teeth twice a day or flossing really matters, or the dental hygienist doesn't believe this, but they're telling this to the patients. How good are you going to be able to convince your patients and others of doing flossing and brushing if you yourself don't do it, right? It would be lousy, right? You wouldn't be very good at it. Let's say you're a high school math teacher. to make it even better, you're a geometry teacher. But honestly, you think geometry is a complete waste of time. Are you going to be able to teach your students with confidence and the conviction that they need to know this stuff to make their lives better? What about teenagers? Teenagers trying to listen to a geometry teacher who doesn't believe in what they're saying, or uh, you know, it's almost like teenagers. They have built-in lie detectors, and they can smell the disbelief a mile away, right? No way you can convince them of something that you're not convinced yourself. The same will be true with your clients and your customers. You must believe in your product. You must believe in your company. You must believe in yourself in order to make the sale. In upcoming sections about this, we're going to dive deeper into the importance of belief and commitment. Okay, and uh, and how without them, it will be impossible to achieve your goals. It will be impossible to hit the targets you set out to finish your month strong, or your goal to finish the year strong. Right. So, are you a professional or are you an amateur? Okay, as I mentioned previously, selling doesn't need to be your primary career in order to become a great salesperson. In fact, I know some business people whose job function is not sales, but they're better salespeople than those that they've hired to sell. Just because your business card says sales rep, sales manager, sales associate, sales professional, uh, just because of that does not mean that they're good at sales, right? In the sports world, as a professional, it's for the most part someone who gets paid to perform, while an amateur doesn't, right? That distinction is somewhat blurry, but it still holds weight, and it carries over to the sales world as well. Professional salespeople make more money than amateurs, but that's not where the difference ends. Okay, well, let's talk about the professional a little bit. The professional is a person who engaged in a specific activity as his or her main paid occupation rather than a hobby or a pastime. Uh, it's been my experience that 99% of all professional salespeople only have a slight idea of what selling is, much less how to actually determine and predict their results. Have you ever seen someone who produced 4 or 5 times more than the average person? If you're in sales, have you ever seen this? Or maybe you're working in a factory and, well, you're putting together, I don't know, circuit boards, right? And there's 10 of you putting together circuit boards. Well, you got one guy over here who's smoking everybody else. He's lapping everybody else. And he's putting together 10 circuit boards while everybody else is doing two or three. Um, what is it? Is it the way they think? Yeah, it's the way they think is different. The way they act is different. The way they work is different. They have different habits. They've learned to be more efficient with their steps. They've been learned to be more efficient with their movements. They learn to just uh, you know speed up their movements, not just be efficient with it, right? And they're focused, right? They're in the zone, right? Even their customers are different, right? If you're a salesperson and you're a salesperson producing 3 or 4 times, 5 times more than the average salespeople in your organization, okay, their customers are different, right? Their responses are different, and therefore their results are different too. Okay, it's easy to sit back and think, oh gosh, they're just a natural salesperson, or they're just lucky, they get all the good leads, but believe me when I say that people who are great aren't born great. Okay, they have paid immense fees and energy and effort, and have invested hours upon hours to achieve that success that they have. And those people, they take the time themselves to continue to read on their careers, on their sales industry, know more about their product line than anybody else. Um, and that's the reason why they are the top producers. When you're born, you're not a born salesperson, you're a born baby. Okay, great salespeople believe in the power of sales to help them achieve their goals. Okay, they have made a decision to motivate themselves to learn everything they can, and they're committed to their craft. And this process never ends. These great salespeople, producers, I guarantee you their mind and their head is completely different than the average person. When they get up in the morning, it's go time. It's not just sit around and, read the newspaper, go watch the news, look at your cell phone, right? Your smartphone, and go through all the apps and, whatever, right? And then, you know, uh, start getting prepared, getting dressed for work, later than everybody else. And then you run into more traffic, and you see how this all works, right? When you're unprepared from the beginning, you're unprepared all day long, right? And so you're going to be unprepared for the traffic. They're the people who always show up 10 to 15 minutes late every single day. And you probably work with these people, right? The whole group is waiting for the day to start. Until the handful of these people get there. You ever have the manager that says, "Hey, we're not going to move forward until the guy who's late shows up to work," right? Uh, I've seen that in a lot of different sales meetings. The whole team and the people who are doing the right things and have their head right about sales, they're being punished because one guy doesn't. Okay. Professionals also believe in themselves. They know that sales is an unlimited opportunity, and they own the fact that their efforts will determine how high they fly. They don't blame fate. They don't blame God. They don't blame their company, their sales managers, the weather, the economy. They don't blame the leads. They don't blame the customer. They take 100% responsibility for the outcome that they have, whether it's good or bad. Now, let's talk about the amateur a little bit. Okay. On the flip side of the professional coin is the amateur coin. An amateur is a person who engages in a pursuit, a study, science, or sport as a pastime rather than as a profession, or one lacking in experience or competence in an art or science. Many salespeople are actually amateurs. I hate to say it, but it's true. And if you're ready to throw the remote control at your computer screen, or you throw your mouse at your computer screen, or you're ready to throw your smartphone phone against the wall when you hear that. You look, I don't mean any disrespect, but it's true. Most salespeople are amateurs who don't know the first thing about selling. Maybe you've encountered some of these people, either when you went to buy a new phone, a new car, a couch, a recliner, a stove, a spa, um, or maybe you yourself are less than a professional. Is selling just a pastime for you? I hope not. No different than watching TV, right? Is selling no different than watching TV? Do you take your career that seriously, or do you not take your career that seriously? Do you lack experience and competence in this field? Are you not clear about what you're doing while negotiating? Do you struggle to get your way in life? Do you have a secret disdain for this thing called selling? Do you hate rejection and even the idea of selling another? Do you think that great salespeople are just born that way? Quit thinking it's up to fate. Or the universe or God. Uh, God's got his hands full. Don't count on him to get you a deal today. Don't count on him to put the right buyer in front of you today, or to help you meet your quota. It's up to you. Your very life and dreams depend on it. You're not going to get what you want. If you're not going to get what you want, quit making excuses and decide now. Put your foot down and decide now to learn everything there is to learn about sales, about your selling career. Okay. Oh, man, I got to tell you, the amateurs, they really, it's, I don't know if you could see the receding hairlines here, but this is from years of being in sales management. I would go, new hires, amateurs, new hires, amateurs, and that's how I developed this right up here. Um, but that's what it's going to take to get you out of the amateur status, right? You need to get your head right about this, and you need to learn everything there is. You have to have a desire to be great and not average, a desire to be incredible, and the dedication and willingness to learn the skills that you need. Great great salespeople know their income depends on only one thing. Okay, their ability to generate customers makes themselves and to make themselves known in the marketplace, to get agreement from people, to close sales, and then to reproduce those results over and over and over again. If you can't do that, I assure you, you're going to fail. Okay, your future is only limited by your imagination and what you allow your imagination to do for you, right? And speaking of your imaginations, professionals know they have to get their mind right. They know it all starts in the brain. You can't outperform your internal limits, which is why Grant and our courses here at Cardone University spend so much time on mindset. We want is to convince you to be great. Give up the medium. Give up being average. Give up. Settling for poor results, excuses. I want to help you dig in and be great. To do that, you have to convince yourself that this is your field and your chosen profession, that selling is the skill you have to learn in order to get what you want in life. And this thing called selling can make you rich. It can give you freedom, right? You can stop living paycheck to paycheck. And the statistic is in our country, the richest country in the United States, our statistic is that 76% of us live paycheck to paycheck. And quite honestly, that should be an embarrassment for the United States. Um, but you got to buckle down and you got to get to work. Let's talk about something real quick called the Great Shortage. Okay, for thousands of years, wealth has been. Sorry about that. For thousands of years, wealth has been amassed and riches have been accumulated by salespeople. Those same opportunities still exist today. This segment about getting you to realize that the world isn't going to come to an end. Forget about artificial intelligence. Forget about companies going direct to consumer. There are still plenty of opportunities for great salespeople, and there always will be. Hey, you want to stop your manufacturer from selling direct to the consumer? Do a better job at selling. Do a better job at closing the people when they come in the door, and make sure that you're finding the right product or the right service to solve the needs of the customer. Because when you do that, then you're going to have a happy, satisfied customer. But people have regrets with their purchase only because they realized when they took that product home that it did not meet their needs. That product or service didn't solve their problem. So then they have what's buyer's remorse, right? They regret their purchase. And unfortunately, a lot of people, and maybe even you, believed the media when it talked about how there would only be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 million sales jobs in 2020. Hey, that's fake news, right? People still overwhelmingly want to buy from other people, not from machines, not from vending machines, right? Think about Carvana, the giant car vending machine, right? It's marketed as the first automated kind of coin-based, coin-operated car vending machine in the United States. Hey, it's cool to look at. It's definitely eye-catching, and it's definitely gimmicky. But what they're having a problem is that our people aren't really going to drop, $15,000 to $30,000 on a car without taking a good up close look at it first, right? They want to test drive it. They want to feel it. They want to make sure if it meets their needs, if it's exactly what they're hoping for. Well, because Carvana didn't do that, because they had this massive free return policy, right? They because they do not employ salespeople to demonstrate the product, to figure out what's important to the consumer, to really find out what problem the consumer is having. They have this massive I think it's like a 14-day return policy. And so all these cars, these customers think they want, they get in it, they drive it, they realize, oh man, it's got a wobbly wheel, or the brakes aren't right, or this car's giving me some kind of problems. And back it goes to the vending machine, right? And then they got to wait for another one to come around. Well, all this has just caused this major problem for Carvana, right? And now, I mean, you have all their investors are fighting over trying to get, they don't want Carvana to go bankrupt because they want these investors, they want to make sure they can recoup their investment, right? So, in fact, here's how it really works. You don't drive up to the thing and put $15,000 worth of quarters and get whatever car is available. Instead, the cars are pre stocked in the machines. The cars that are pre stocked in the machines already have been selected and purchased. That is true, right? It's not really an automated vending machine, it's an automated delivery machine. You can go through the car search and purchase process online, but there's a big phone number on each page in case you have any questions, because many people want to talk to somebody before they make a purchase that big. So don't believe people who say that the sales profession is. I assure you, there's a vast shortage of highly committed, highly dedicated, great salespeople. And when there's a shortage, you can fill in the shortage and you can become the valuable one. Okay. The good news is for those who chose to be great at their job, the world is like a treasure chest of opportunity, just waiting for great salespeople to open it. The key in being internally employable lies in creating value. If you can create more value for your employer than the amount they pay you, you'll always have a job and you'll always be able to write your own ticket. The truth is, you can get paid whatever you want. There is no ceiling, but you have to learn the trade. You have to learn the skill. And learning the trade of sales is no different than learning how the trade of being an electrician, no different than learning the trade how to be a carpenter or a plumber or a chiropractor or a dental hygienist or a doctor or a lawyer. Remember, there's a great shortage of great salespeople, right? So if you filled the void and separated yourself from the masses, from the average, then you can choose what products and services you want to sell, and you can choose who you want to work for and what part of the country you want to work in. Truly great salespeople stand head and shoulders above the rest. Okay. They're not the average. They're not even in the same profession as most salespeople. They think different. And that's what we're talking about. Okay. Um, so look, on on February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, I'm putting on my phone mastery workshop. You're going to learn closing. You're going to learn negotiations. You're going to learn on the phone. You're going to learn how to set more appointments than you've ever set. You're going to learn how to lock those appointments in to assure that more of your customers show than ever before. Because what's going to happen, as I mentioned earlier, we many are saying that 2023 may be worse than 2008. And when we're 3 weeks into the year 2023, and almost it seems like almost every day, at least once a week, there's the news reports of a major Fortune 100 company laying tens of thousands of people off. Well, they know something, and that should be an indicator to you. Okay, to and alarms should be going off in your head. And with that, when those alarms going off, you should start perfecting your skill. You should get back to basics. And there's no better way to do that than getting great on the phone. Okay. Getting to become a master on the phone. Because look, when people stop walking through the front door, when they stop coming in, you're going to need to combat that. You're going to need to find other angles and other ways to be able to sell your goods and product. Because if you can't, you never know. I would hate to say it, but you never know. The place you work for may no longer be around after 2023. So, again, that's on February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Go to thehardknockstate.com and scroll down. Gosh, it's about just a little bit more than halfway down my first page of my website. You go through the appointments, go through the one on the group coaching, go through the private coaching, and then right below the coaching is my webinar. Just click on that. It's $19.95. I guarantee you it's going to be the best $20 you could ever spend. Okay. It really will. And you'll be able to take that information and you'll be able to use it right away. So I really want to say thank you. Hopefully, you found this live stream and this information beneficial. Hopefully, it gave you some good facts on why you need to get your head right about selling, and why you need to get your head right from the minute you wake up about your day ahead of you and the customers you need to serve. And look, if you have any questions, uh, if you if you're in sales now, maybe you've hit a rut, maybe you need more than the phone mastery workshop. Maybe you just need to talk to somebody. Look, I offer a free 15-minute sales strategy coaching session, and so you can click on that, and we'll point you in the right direction that will enable you to find a way to how you could sell more, sell consistently, and earn more on each sale. Hey, maybe you don't think you need the free coaching session. You just want to jump in my weekly group coaching. Well, you could pick up a month of weekly group coaching for $395. I mean, the information you're going to learn during my group coaching, we go through Grant Cardone's 10x sales professional courses. There's 9 of them, and every week it's a different topic. And yeah, maybe you want to take it a step further. Maybe you want 6 months of group coaching. Maybe you want private one-on-one coaching. Maybe you'd like or would be interested in picking up something like the Complete Sales Mastery Package, where you get that's a 12-month training program, coaching and training program, where you get 12 months access to Cardone University with over 800 courses on sales training, business training, closing, negotiations, more phones, right? Getting attention in the marketplace, and then you'd also get 4 months. Okay, 4 months. That's 16 individual group coaching sessions where we're going to go over those 10x sales professional courses with the Complete Sales Mastery Packages. You'll get a workbook for each course so you can follow along during the class, and then you could study that throughout the week. And that's where throughout the week is where the Cardone University kicks in, because then before you can get your head right about sales from the minute you wake up, all you got to do is pop on your computer, your smartphone, your tablet, anything with an internet connection or data connection, and you can watch, two to four training module segments each day, and they're broken. Grant breaks them. Grant's got this whole thing figured out. He's got this down, I mean, like a complete science, right? He knows when people check out of training, right? And so he's got these modules, these courses broke down into bite-sized chunks. They're anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes long, so you don't get distracted. Your eyes don't glaze over. You don't start thinking about other things. And so you just watch 2 or 3 of these a day, bam, and then you head on off and start getting ready for work. Well, that starts getting your mind thinking right, starts getting your head right about sales. And then before you know it, you're engaging with your customers. And from the first minute you engage with your customer, you're prepared, because if you don't get your head right about sales before you engage with customers, you're going to be rusty and you're not going to be prepared. You're going to fumble over your words. You may not put in all the enthusiasm. You may not put in the excitement. You may not be able to service the customer to your full potential and your full capability. And when that customer leaves without your service or your product, then you weren't prepared. Your head wasn't right about sales. Well, hey, I really thank you again for joining us on this live stream this evening. Again, my name's Greg Nelson. My company, sales training company, is called The Hard Knock State com. It's actually the Hard Knock State, but my website is thehardknockstate.com. And again, please, I want to see you on February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I want you to come to my phone mastery workshop because I think it's more important than it is ever before for you to get really good on the phone. And if you get good on the phone, and let's say 2023 goes the way that some are predicting and how it's going to be worse than 2008, if that's true and you're an expert on the phone, you'll be the one thriving in a down economy. This is how you learn how to sell in any economy. You can't just be good selling face to face, okay? You can't call yourself a true sales master or sales professional if you're only good in one aspect of your field. You got to be well rounded. You got to be a master at every angle. You have to learn how to maximize every single opportunity that comes in your way, and you have to look for every single opportunity. Your attitude has to be an attitude that you believe in you believe in your product, and you believe in your company, and you got to believe that it's the right solution for your customer. But how do you find that right solution for the customer? By actively listening. Okay, listening and asking questions through fact finding, through the discovery, through the qualifying. And fact finding, remember, if you followed any of my videos or my teachings in the past, you know fact finding never ends. Fact finding starts from the minute you start communicating. Okay, and remember, we ask open ended questions, not close ended questions. Remember, we talk and ask these questions in a normal conversation, not like we're interrogating a murder suspect, right? You're not a homicide detective. You're more like Columbo, right? You're just communicating, but you're getting the answers. Okay. Well, doing this on the phone, once you're able to get this good on the phone, you'll get even better selling in person. And but again, it all starts with your attitude, and it all starts with your mindset, and it all starts with getting your head right about this thing called selling. Gosh, I really hope you found this beneficial tomorrow when you go to work. I hope if you're in the selling industry, if you have a sales job, if you have a career in sales, I hope, I really do. I really hope that this sinks deep down and you really grasp this concept of what I was talking about this evening, because tomorrow when you go to work, you'll be able to implement this. And if your mind's right, you'll be in a much better mood. You'll be more excited to help your customers and your clients, and you'll be better prepared. And that's what it's all about. So, hey, thank you again. Again, my name is Greg Nelson. This is thehardknockstate.com. Please go to thehardknockstate.com and sign up for my phone mastery workshop. Again, that is Saturday, February 11th